third for your life. But you won't never 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 third for your life.
ESPN Speed World welcomes you to Washougal, Washington for round 10 of the AMA 250 Motocross Series.
Hello, everyone. I'm John Kernan, along with former motocross champion David Bailey. And David, we're getting down to business. 6 motos left in the season. As far as the points go, McGrath leads Emig by 33. It's his championship to lose, isn't it?
Definitely. And think of what it could have been. LaRocco now out with a knee injury. Greg Albertine out with a wrist injury. Of course, Doug Henry has been out since Budds Creek with a back injury. So there's a lot less riders to get between Emig and McGrath. I think McGrath now can, with that big lead, can just sort of ride a lot more relaxed.
Well, let's talk about a rider who made his return this year, Damon Bradshaw. I really thought he would have won a moto by now.
Yeah, I did too. I think he did too. And he's still got a chance to win one before the season's over, but not with the kind of luck he's had. He's been down in every first turn pileup. He seems to have radar for any kind of trouble in the first lap, and he's got the speed to run up front, but he's going to have better luck.
Well, maybe Damon can change his luck today. Here's a look at the track.
Well, it's one of the most beautiful tracks in the United States. Very fast, and because of that, it's not going to get very rough out there. The soil here is very deceiving. Looks like it's a lot of traction, but it's actually very slick under that topsoil. And it's also an uphill starting line. They've changed that from past years where it used to be level.
How difficult is it when you do an uphill start?
Well, the bike wants to wheelie a little bit more, so you got to lean forward a little bit, and it doesn't change that much. It just really is an advantage for the guys that have more horsepower.
Well, you had to look at Mike Kudrowski. He won last week at Millville without winning a moto. He went 2 and 3, and we will be back with the start of Moto 1 right after this. Welcome back to Washougal, Washington, Washougal Motocross Park. 6 motos left in the 1995 season, and Damon Bradshaw needs to get it done.
He's going to need some better luck and a good start here today to get it done.
I tell you what, like you said, he's had the terriblest luck. There they go up the hill, and it looks like Bradshaw is getting out in front early, and Kudrowski also involved, but hey, wait a minute. Look at that, Jeremy McGrath, Jeff Emig, the 2 guys battling for the points championship, are 1-2 right now.
Well, it's tricky as you come over the top of that hill. You want to try to hold it tight. They did that. Bradshaw drifted wide, and now they're leading it.
Jeremy McGrath out in front, being pressured by Jeff Emig. Emig needs to get out and win both motos and hope that something not too bad, but a bad finish, we might say, could happen to Jeremy McGrath. And man, they are really going at it. It looks like Emig has a slight advantage as they come through the whoops, but Jeremy sets up for that left turn on the inside. We'll have to wait and see when our next camera shot picks them up. And look at that, they are still side by side, but Jeff Emig finally gets an advantage and moves into the top spot.
Finally, that's exciting. They were side by side since they left the starting gate, and Jeff Emig, he knows he's got to get something going right here, closing on that points lead, and he's doing the right thing here.
Well, Emig has to get out front and stay out front and keep Jeremy McGrath behind. Oh, there's a problem. A couple of riders down, and look at that. It's Kudrowski and, I believe, Damon Bradshaw.
There's a huge rock laying there in the racetrack, too. I don't know if that caused a problem or not, but they got their bikes stuck together.
And it's going to take some time, and look at the log jam it's created. A lot of riders coming through, and Art Ekman is down in the pit area. And Art, got more on this?
John, the word here in the pits is that a large rock was dislodged from a wall burn. Kudrowski hit that big boulder, and then Bradshaw ran into Kudrowski, putting 2 big names toward the back of the pack in this one.
Man, Kudrowski, who won the overall last week, is now in dead last, 40th place, and he has got a lot of making up to do. Meanwhile, back up front, Jeff Emig still leading Jeremy McGrath. And David, you got to believe that this is going to be a really good battle. But looking back in the 3rd spot, you see Kyle Lewis in number 21. That's Larry Brooks who's making his return. But there is a rider missing, and Art has more on that.
Gentlemen, here in the Yamaha camp, and we've got a big disappointment. John Dowd unable to ride. And John, what's the problem?
I separated my shoulder Thursday after practice. I was doing some mountain biking, just, trying to do a little exercise, and little training to stay in shape for the race here, and I just managed to fall off and hit the ground the wrong way, I guess. And we kind of decided I should probably sit this one out because we got 2 weeks off after this, and I'd much rather come back for Binghamton healthy than go out here and chance hurting it again and not really be able to ride 100% anyway. So
good luck in getting back on the bike, John.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Back to the booth.
All right, thank you, Art. Back up front, Jeff Emig continues to lead Jeremy McGrath. Emig would like to win his second overall victory of the year. And speaking of Emig, let's check into his pits.
Well, Steve, Jeff told us that he was going to waste no time in being aggressive, and he certainly did here.
Yeah, that was his whole plan, was to be fast enough to pull away and just take a couple of overalls. And I was kind of hoping that there'd be some guys back there to get amongst them, but Damon and Mike Kudrowski looks like they had come together. So I don't think there's anyone else there right now.
Well, the important thing is just to look ahead then.
Yeah, I think so. It looks like he's pulling a bit of a lead already, and it's early in the race, so we'll see.
Well, John, I can't help but remember last week when Jeremy got passed by LaRocco and just sort of rode around, didn't look like he even cared. Well, you know, I mentioned already today that he doesn't have to challenge Emig right here. He can pretty much just take it easy, and it's unfortunate because I want to see these two guys battle, but Jeremy doesn't want anything to do with it.
Hey, I tell you what, he's thinking championship right now. 6 motos left. After this one, only 5. And he's got, I don't want to say he's stroking it, but I don't think he's going to take any unnecessary chances.
No, he won't. That's kind of a bummer for Emig. I mean, it's good that he can go out and win, but, you know, he wants to, I think, win fair and square, and he's always going to be wondering how hard was Jeremy trying.
Well, now let's look back at the battle for 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Kyle Lewis has 3rd. That's Larry Brooks making his return after having some wrist surgery earlier on. And look at Larry Ward. He's coming up trying to take that 4th spot. And Brooks, in fact, looked over at him.
Well, I think Brooks could hear that Larry Ward was on the right side of that whoop section, pinned wide open. He just carried the front wheel over all those, used that long, lanky frame he's got to get through there fast.
Well, Brooks, after coming back from some serious surgery on his right wrist, says he's feeling really good, almost 100%, and he's showing it right now. Got off to a really good start, but he has now dropped back into the 5th spot. We're in the early stages of Moto number 1 as you get a look at the top 10 on our Suzuki Field Summary. Up front, Jeff Emig has built up a pretty good lead, but look at the battle for 3rd place. Kyle Lewis trying to hold off Larry Ward. Team Nolene Sizzler Yamaha in 3rd, 4th, and 5th, David.
And these guys definitely looking good, and I think it's partially because most of the factory guys aren't here today. I mean, everybody's out with an injury or something, and now Bradshaw and Kudrowski in the back of the pack, so it really gives these guys a great opportunity to run up front. They have, but they haven't been able to stay there. Larry Ward's had a disappointing outdoor season, and right here he looks strong.
Well, that whole team looking strong right now. Here's Art Ekman.
Mark, it's good to see all 3 Nolenes up there battling it out, that's for sure. Good starts, but it's even more fantastic to see Larry Brooks on the track.
Yeah, it sure is. After he had what they call the compartment syndrome to his arm, it mashed his arm. They had to cut it open on both sides to relieve pressure, so that what happens is it swells up, the swelling comes in and closes up the main artery, and you can lose your arm. So they had to cut it wide open, let it stay open for about 2 weeks before they sewed it back up, and now he's back out there.
Well, it's an amazing fact that he kept that arm and is on the track right now. Thanks a lot, Clark.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Art. You know, David, I had no idea it was that serious. I was just told it was an injury. He had the surgery. I had no idea it was that serious.
Neither did I. I thought it was just sort of a routine deal. I mean, Larry's had his share of injuries during his career, and he's able to overcome them all, and I guess this is really no different, but I'm glad to see him back out there.
Oh, yeah, it's great to see him back out there. The fans really enjoy having him back out there, and they're enjoying a great battle for 3rd place between the Nolene Sizzler Yamaha teammates, Kyle Lewis, and right behind him is Larry Ward. Actually, it looks like Lewis has put just a little bit of distance on Larry Ward.
Well, I think Larry's probably pretty patient. I don't think that he can even see McGrath up there in 2nd place, and I think he knows he can get around his teammate, or he feels confident, and I think that's why he's dropped back a little bit, just to dodge that roost and regroup, try to find somewhere else to pass.
Now back to the battle for 5th place. There's Todd DeHoop trying to come up on Cliff Palmer, and they are closing in on Larry Brooks.
Well, I would imagine, John, all that recovery time for Larry and then the problems with his arm, he's not going to be very fit here today. The one thing he does have to his advantage, though, is that this track, like I mentioned, doesn't get that rough, so he should be able to go the distance.
You know, it seems like all year long we've been talking about guys who, well, He's had a lot of off time. They had a lot of injuries this year on this series, haven't they?
Yeah, the attrition rate has been pretty brutal, and I was just thinking about it. There's only 3 guys in this entire race that have a 1-digit number on their plate.
Whoa. Look at Cliff Palmer trying on the inside, but he just doesn't get the bite to get around Larry Brooks. Todd DeHoop now coming along, and I believe that's Doug Boynton, who's also coming up on this battle.
And Phil Lawrence at the very tail end. This is a good battle, and I think it's just going to get better.
It's the best battle out on the track right now. Jeff Emig, don't want to forget this, he is your leader. Jeremy McGrath is second, but Emig has pulled out in front by quite a bit. Look at Todd DeHoop get around Cliff Palmer as they go into that turn.
Yeah, Todd doesn't look very patient right now, and he's a muscler. He'll get in and mix it up, and he did. He muscled his way past Palmer, and I think he's probably going to do the same thing past Brooks, although Brooks, pretty tough to pass. I don't care if he's tired, he's healthy or not, if he's riding good or bad, he's still tough to pass.
Is he good at making that bike awfully wide?
Well, he's been riding a long time. He was an excellent mini bike rider. I've talked about this before. I mean, he's no stranger to riding fast on a motocross track, and he just knows where to go to make it difficult for everyone else.
Right now he holds on to that 5th spot. Todd DeHoop has moved into 6th. Cliff Palmer is 7th. Doug Boynton is 8th, and factory Phil Lawrence has moved into the 9th spot. That's a nice looking shot right there. You can see the riders fly over you.
It's one of the faster jumps. I know that when I used to race here, it's kind of deceiving because as you head up to it, you think you're pretty much in the middle of the racetrack, and as you get into the air, you realize that you're way to the left. And I remember in practice once I jumped actually over the banners, landed out in the grass, and it was pretty scary. So you gotta pitch the bike. A lot of guys towards the end of the race start getting a little bit loose there, styling it for the fans. It's a great jump to do that.
Well, DeHoop right now is closing in as he tries to set his sights on Larry Brooks. Remember, DeHoop missed a couple of motos earlier in the year with a knee injury, and then at Troy he also had a couple of crashes and got up walking gingerly with that knee, but he's back out there at it, so nothing serious for him. But he's another one of the guys who's been banged up this year.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. A lot of riders having a tough season in terms of injuries. And, you know, as I looked at this 250 National Series at Gainesville, when it first started, I thought this is the best season ever for talent. I mean, it's just stacked. I thought it would be so close. It'd be really tough for somebody to finally emerge a winner of each race, let alone the championship. And everyone's gotten hurt and broken down. And now we're watching a battle. It kind of looks like the Las Vegas Supercross, and most of the pros didn't show up to the main event. We're looking at a lot of privateers. Nothing against these guys. They're riding good, and they're going fast, but Jeremy and Jeff Emig in a league all their own.
Well, Kyle Lewis, who's trying to hold off Larry Ward. Larry Ward had that great Supercross season, finishing 2nd behind Jeremy McGrath. Now he's going to try the outside line, but no, Lewis gets in that rut, which was the favored line around that turn, and comes back out on that 3rd spot in front of his teammate.
Well, he'll remember that the next time they get to that section, too. Larry's going to have to find somewhere else to make his moves. You see, he's just trying to take a different line everywhere, and because this track doesn't get very rough, it makes it tough to pass. And sometimes you get a privateer who gets a good start, not so much these guys, but a privateer we're not used to seeing. And he can go very fast on a racetrack like this, where it just takes a lot of speed and a little bit of guts, and just carrying a lot more momentum.
Right now, the momentum belongs to Jeff Emig, who's up in front. He is just rolling away. And look, he gets the pass, the go ahead and go by Kyle Lewis telling Larry Ward.
That was kind of interesting. It looked like Kyle was fiddling with something. He still is. He's fiddling some by his clutch lever or kill button. I'm not sure what it is, but sometimes I thought maybe he was just getting nervous and his arms were getting pumped up. You get a guy behind you that's riding a lot faster than you are, and we're going to get another look. He's waving him by right here, it looks like. But maybe he's just trying to stay out of his way and let Larry keep a good pace. They are teammates and not mess him up. Right there, you see he's reaching for something. I don't know what it is. Maybe sometimes you can let some adjustment out of your clutch so it doesn't slip. That's all I can figure.
Well, there's a look at the top 10 on your Suzuki Field Summary. Emig continues to lead. Back at Washougal, Washington, Art Ekman down in the pits, David Bailey and John Kernan up top, and Kyle Lewis, after that problem, we saw him wave his teammate Larry Ward by, is in 4th place, and he's in danger of losing that.
Yeah, he's got a pack of riders catching him. As he went around that corner right when we came back from the break, he was still adjusting something on there. I don't know what's going on. I think maybe he's trying to loosen up the adjustment of his clutch. That's all. And put more play in it, and then it won't slip. But look at this group of riders. I mean, they don't have any problems. They're moving on, and they've caught him quick.
It'll soon be a battle for 4th place as Kyle Lewis is riding along in that, but right behind him is Todd DeHoop, and then comes James Dobb on the number 16 Honda of Troy bike. And we finally see some of the Red Rider guys, I guess you might say.
Well, it looked like it was 4 Yamahas in the top 5 there for a while, and I guess, you know, with the absence of Albertine and LaRocco and Henry, a lot of guys, I mean, that makes that possible. But now you got a Suzuki and a Honda of Troy and DeHoop going past
Larry Brooks there. And actually, James Dobb has already gotten, but there's a little bit of a problem right there. James Dobb had already gotten around Todd DeHoop. And Dobb now is setting his sights on Kyle Lewis, trying to get around him and move into the 4th spot.
Well, Kyle seems to have ironed out whatever problem he had. He's back up to speed. I don't see him reaching for that lever anymore. And he was remember, he ran 3rd for a while, and he had a pretty fast pace. Ward was close to him, but it appeared that Larry wasn't really much faster until Kyle started fiddling with whatever that was that he had a problem with. And now seems like he's going back to the same pace he had before.
I got to believe your observation's right, messing with the clutch adjustment. But look how far they have pulled away from that other pack. As you see DeHoop coming in there to come into the whoop section, they're a good 2-3 seconds ahead.
Well, DeHoop looked strong there for a while. I mean, it looked like he was the strongest one in that pack when Brooks was leading it, but now it appears that, like I said, Lewis has picked up the pace, and Dobb had caught those guys and passed them all, and he was running a faster pace. Lewis figured that out and said, well, I don't want him to pass me, so now they're both jamming.
Jamming they are as Dobb tries an outside move on that turn. He's really putting the heat on Kyle Lewis. We'll just see how long Kyle Lewis can withstand this charge. But there's James Dobb running around trying to go on the outside. Does he have it this time? Not quite. Maybe I spoke too soon, as you saw Kyle Lewis have a little bit of a problem there, but a good recovery by Kyle. But Dobb swings right back in side by side, and look, Kyle looks over and sees Dobb, and Dobb takes over that 4th spot.
Well, he not only took it over, but he completely moved across the racetrack right in front of Lewis. Lewis had to actually slow down a little bit and move back to the other side to have some racing room, and you can afford to do that. It wasn't anything dirty. He just wanted to make sure that Lewis wasn't going to make a run at him on that left-hander on the inside. Oh, Mike Kudrowski's down.
Oh, man, again. Kudrowski, who tangled with Damon Bradshaw when they ran into that rock right after the start, dropped all the way back to 40th, has worked his way up into the top 10, currently running 9th, and even with that spill there, he's not going to lose his spot.
Well, I think he gets the crash award for this year. Mike has crashed more than anybody I can think of. Brooks, I think, used to hold that title, but now he didn't lose his spot when he fell. And as I looked up in front of the race on the racetrack ahead of him, there was nobody there. There was nobody behind him, so he's pretty much just worked his way into the boring zone, I guess. There's no one to pass and no one to challenge, so it's a pretty frustrating day so far for Mike.
Well, there's Larry Brooks, looks over his shoulder at Doug Boynton. Cliff Palmer is right in there also. This is a great battle back in the second 5 of the top 10, I guess you could call it.
Well, Doug Boyson having a good run right here. He normally runs around maybe 15th, somewhere in there. I mean, he's run up front before and with good starts, but he typically drops back a little ways. And right here, this has got to be pretty exciting for him to run up here and be in a battle inside the top 10, and might give him a little confidence.
You know, David, with all of the big guys out, it seems like, or a lot of them, how important is it for these privateer guys to have good runs?
Well, it's crucial because now they don't have any excuses. They have to run up front. There's no one to, none of the factory guys to beat them.
As you take a look at the top 10 on our Suzuki Field Summary, Jeff Emig is the leader, back with the finish after this. Back at Washougal, a battle shaping up for 3rd as we get set to throw the checkered flag. And look at James Dobb, zips around Larry Ward and takes over that 3rd spot. Dobb, I'm really impressed with the charge he's made. He came out of practically nowhere and has moved up into 3rd.
Yeah, he's had a good ride. And, Larry, I think they drag raced down that ski jump and into that corner, and Dobb pushed Larry a little bit harder than he was comfortable with, and Larry just couldn't hold that inside line, and so that was a smart move.
Well, right now, James Dobb has got his radar set out for Jeremy McGrath, who holds down the 2nd spot, but I think McGrath's so far out in front, the radar wouldn't even show it right now, huh?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think he's in a different time zone, and speaking of different time zone, I think Emig's in one of all his own as well. Emig's got about a 15, 20-second lead right here, and Jeremy still looks pretty aggressive, so I don't know what the story is, but Emig is definitely taking it to him.
We are on the final lap as Jeremy McGrath. He's got to be sad. I can't expect him to do anything stupid here on the final lap to try and catch Emig. In fact, if Dobb gets close to him, he might even let Dobb go around him. But I don't think Dobb's going to catch him, and I don't think McGrath has any hope of catching Emig, nor is he that concerned with it at this point of the season, is he?
No, this is just, it's his first outdoor title, and that's all he's thinking about, and he knows he's got to go out and just finish all the laps, you know, and stay out of trouble, and he's done that today.
Well, Jeff Emig right now is on his way to a moto victory. It's been a while. Remember, Emig was so close there in the points. You see him, that little fist waving in the air. He was so close in the points until about 5 motos ago, and then he's had some bad luck. But now he's come back today with a vengeance to win this first moto. Unless he drops the bike somewhere out there on the track, he's going to win in quite convincing fashion. Look at that.
That's that jump I was talking about, and Emig's perfect for that. He can pass up the front end with that rear tire. He's good at styling it, and a crowd favorite.
Well, it looks like he's going to pick up 3 points on Jeremy McGrath, and I hate this. I mean, I realize after this there are 5 motos left. Anything can happen, but it might be too little too late.
Well, this is all he can do. I mean, the title is pretty much a prayer right now. It's not impossible. It could happen, but it's not that likely. And for him, all he can really do to salvage out the season is just to continue to win motos and hopefully put together a couple overalls before the season's over.
Right now, he is just a few feet away from wrapping up the win in Moto number 1. Remember, Emig picked up his first overall outdoor victory in the National 250 Series at Southwick, and now he will add this one, his second of his career, as he looks back to watch Jeremy McGrath, who will come across the line in second place with a nice, easy ride for Jeremy.
Probably didn't even work up a sweat. He rode most of the moto like that.
That's the way I used to ride, except I finished last all the time when I did that. But, hey, what a year Jeremy McGrath is having. And, you know, all that off-season conditioning, during season conditioning has really paid off. The Supercross title and on his way to his first outdoor title. But in Moto number 1 here, Jeff Emig comes away with the win. James Dobb, Larry Ward, and Kyle Lewis round out the top 5. And a good ride for Doug Boyson. He finished 8th. Let's check in with Art Ekman.
Jeff, you told us it'd be a more aggressive lap-per-lap type race for you. It was no nonsense, by golly.
Yeah, you know, me and Jeremy, we started right there first, and what you guys couldn't see back in the back, man, we were going at it. We swapped a couple of times, and you know, and when it kind of finally settled there after about 30 seconds, you know, of just this, like full-on adrenaline rush, and once it kind of settled, I ended up with the lead.
Then you really took away with the lead and made a safe thing of it. Too bad there wasn't any riders between you.
Yeah, I mean, that's true, but I just want to win these races, and then we'll worry about the points later. I mean, you got to win the races, to get the 25 points, and that's what I'm out here to do. And I feel great. I rode hard the whole moto. Even though I had a 25, 30-second lead, I didn't give up at all at the end. This is like training for the next week.
Congratulations, Jeff.
Also a good ride for Jeremy McGrath. With that second place finish, though, Emig cuts into his points lead by 3. Jeff now trailing by 30. Art Ekman has caught up with Jeremy.
Jeremy, it's a nice position to be in, to have the pressure on the other rider, even though he's out in front of you.
Yeah, Jeff rode a good race. I got in right in front of him, and then he made a pass on me first lap. And we were going at it for a second, but other than that, he had some good lines, and I think we need to make a little bit of changes to my bike. And I didn't get tired or anything. I don't think my bike was settling, maybe as good as his, and he just got away.
As the track gets a lot of ruts, you also had some lappers too, as far as catching up is concerned.
Yeah, there were some lappers in the way, but we had a pretty good gap between second and third, so it wasn't that bad. So I was just trying to take my time. I fell on the last lap there and kind of going slow, and I don't know. I'll try and get a better start and be more tough next race.
And the next moto is coming your way very shortly. Once again, congratulations to Jeff Emig, who took the checkered with style in Moto number 1. Now back to 1995. Riders at the line getting set for the start of Moto number 2. There goes the gate.
Damon Bradshaw right there with another pretty good start. Gets pushed wide, though. Looked like Emig up the inside, and Jeremy McGrath with that hole shot he wanted.
Jeremy McGrath said he was going to ride tougher in Moto number 2, and right now he is out in front, but you got to believe that Emig is going to have a no-holds-barred riding style here in Moto number 2, and he is really going to put the pressure on McGrath.
Look at Emig going to work up the inside.
Oh, man.
Handlebar to handlebar.
Man, look at Emig. He gets down low. It's a drag race as they come up the hill. McGrath to the inside. Emig outside. McGrath squirts back into the lead, but Jeff Emig is hot on his tail. What a first lap.
Well, it's just like the first lap of the first moto, but this time Emig is looking at the back of McGrath. But I got to believe Emig was quite a bit faster in that first moto, and after listening to Jeremy's comments, the bike wasn't set up, so he's got to keep his fingers crossed that setup, whatever changes they made, is going to work for him this time. Right now, Emig is putting the pressure on.
Well, Emig trying an outside line, trying to get a bite off of that berm. It just doesn't work right there, but he is within a couple of wheel lengths of Jeremy McGrath. You can hear the fans screaming as they come down the hill. Look at Jeremy to the inside, just does a great job protecting his line. Right, David?
Well, he's pretty good at that. And I know that Jeremy is the kind of guy that can regroup and go back out and win the second moto. He reminds me of Rick Johnson in that respect, that he could look like he's not having a very good day and still come away with an overall win. So right here, the pressure's all on Emig to try to get past him.
Oh, especially when you look at points. Emig made up 3 points in Moto number 1, but right now, that all that work he did in Moto number 1 has gone away, and he's 3 points behind, back to where he started the day at this position right now.
Well, he's trying his hardest, and they came over that tunnel jump. Emig just flew it. He jumped all the way to the flat, landed right next to Jeremy, but there wasn't a good place to try to make a pass. However, it was a good place to try to put the pressure on Jeremy to let him know that he's not going to just sit back there. Right in front of Dobb. Right in front of Dobb. Privateer tried to square it. That wasn't a very good idea. Not in the first lap when there's a lot of traffic.
James Dobb kept getting the worst end of that, but he was able to continue. Look at the hoop having some problems getting set up there for actually several riders. There must be a bad rut form at the entrance to the whoop section, causing them a problem.
There is. You can see a lot of guys try to cut inside of it. And what you want to do is get through that corner clean so you can get a good run at that first jump. Because if you don't get the right timing in those first 2 or 3 bumps, you're messed up all the way through there. And I noticed Kudrowski and Bradshaw were pretty far back in the pack again.
They were looking for a better start here in Moto number 2 after they tangled on the opening lap of Moto number 1. But they've got a lot of work to do. I thought Bradshaw was going to get the whole shot there for a minute, but as you pointed out on the start, he got pushed wide. These two guys battling for the lead, battling for the points championship. And Jeff Emig, who won Moto number 1, now tries, oh man, I thought he was going off the track right there with that jump. And look at that, the front wheel pops up, David. Woo.
Well, he's tucked in. He's got his butt so far to the back of the seat. The front end gets light, and he just hooked up right there a little bit more than I think he had anticipated, and almost lost it. But, you know, he's putting the pressure on Jeremy. I know Jeremy's trying to go out and ride these first few laps hard and discourage him, or just maybe break his spirit, but it's not working. Emig's right there.
Not letting McGrath breathe, really, actually. McGrath, a little bit of breathing room here, but Jeremy's in the driver's seat. He's got a great points lead, 30 points. That's more than one moto. There you see Emig go for the tearaway. You hear the fans once again, but Jeremy has the lead right now, and he can pretty much dictate what happens, can't he?
Well, he can to an extent. I mean, he's in the lead here. He's in an overall position, even though he kind of rode a little bit lazy in the first moto. And he has a big points lead, but motocross, you never know. I mean, it doesn't have to be at the race. It could be practicing during the week. Something can go wrong, and that's it. The titles belongs to Jeff Emig. So right here, Emig's doing the right thing. Just keep the pressure on Jeremy and force him to do what he's been doing all year. Your luck's got to change sometime.
Well, you know, we hadn't mentioned it yet, but it is raining. You can see it on that last couple of shots, and the track hasn't gotten exceptionally muddy yet, but it could get slicker as this rain continues to come down, and being out in front, that's what you want to be.
Right. Well, you can see those shiny spots in the dirt, not so much right through here, but in some of those fast sweepers and through the trees where they just were. Wherever that dirt's a little bit shiny, as soon as the rain gets on there and it gets wet, that gets really slick. It's like riding on ice. So these guys are going to try to stay in berms and stay in that loam where they can hook up better.
Right now, McGrath looks like he is hooked up, if I could use stock car lingo. He is starting to put a little distance on Jeff Emig, and that's got to really knock his confidence down a little bit, because Emig we can see he's riding his heart out as hard as he can, and Jeremy, being very smooth up front, is starting to pull. Oh, and look at that, Emig coming down the hill, crashes hard. Oh.
Well, he's stunned pretty bad right there. I don't think he thought there was a problem. We're going to get another look at it. Everything looks fine right here to me. I think that's see that hard pack that's, when that gets wet, it gets really slick, and when he landed under full power, the bike was leaned over, the back end slid out from underneath him, and it just high-sided, kind of a freak deal. I think it caught him completely by surprise. He's stunned, and I don't think that felt too good. He took a hard lick.
Well, Emig trying to shake the cobwebs out after crashing there, and that not only hurts him physically, but probably mentally too. As you take a look at the top 10 on our Honda field, Summary McGrath is leading it. Lewis is second. Emig has dropped back to third. Hey, I got a great idea.
What?
We're going to take all your Honda riding tips from this year. We're going to make a home video, and we're going to become millionaires.
Well, maybe.
Hey, Damon Bradshaw is showing some stuff. He is in the 4th spot. He got off to a pretty good start. Remember how he and Kedrowski tangled in Moto number 1. They were actually hooked together, united as one for a little bit.
I think it's in Damon's best interest to stay clear of Kedrowski unless he wants to go down again. Kedrowski crashing a lot this year. He's fast when he's on 2 wheels, but he's been fairly inconsistent. And I'm glad to see Damon up front. I know a lot of the top guys aren't out there. It might be one of the reasons why, but Damon, like I said, he's got the speed, but he's had a lot of bad luck himself, getting involved in everyone else's problems. But I love watching this kid ride. I always have. I watched him ride many bikes. He rode a lot at my racetrack in Virginia at Lake Sugar Tree, and one of his first, I think maybe it was his first national win there, both motos, convincingly. And it was a big shock to the motocross industry when he decided to retire, and I think one of those reasons was some of the fun was gone, and I hope that all this luck he's had so far in his comeback hasn't put him back in that same frame of mind. Hopefully he'll stay after it and come back next season and apply what he's learned.
Now we look back at a battle for second place. You remember how Emig had crashed and Kyle Lewis had gotten around him and taken over the second spot. Well, Jeff has shaken off the effects of that header, that head plant he did, and he is now hot on the tail of Kyle Lewis, trying to move back into second place. But while all this is going on, Jeremy McGrath has basically checked out. So Emig now right on the rear wheel of Kyle Lewis as he's looking for a line. There he might try something a little different. No, it doesn't work. It doesn't pan out for him. But right now, Jeff Emig, as you see some of the fans walking up there to the side of the track, shouting their encouragement. Now they'll come down this really fast part up the hill and getting set up for this left-hander, and look, Kyle slips out wide a little bit, and Emig makes up a little bit of ground. Now Emig, with that rear wheel washing out just a little bit, loses a little bit of the ground that he had made up.
Emig's, I think, faster than Lewis, but Lewis is going fast enough here to make it tough. I mean, Emig's going to have to get creative and find a way around him, and if he doesn't, Bradshaw's right there, moves to the inside. That was pretty much planned ahead. He drifted out wide under those trees and got a good drive off that berm. Just took the line away.
But look at Kyle Lewis. He comes right back as they come up there, and Lewis moves back into second place. But now Emig, side by side. Man, we've seen a lot of side-by-side racing today. This time, Emig, as they come down the hill to the jump, takes the outside rut, Lewis the inside, but Jeffro manages to hang on to that second spot.
Well, that was a pretty good little exchange right there, and a nice aggressive move by Lewis. He doesn't care if he's a factory rider or not. You know, if he's not going to take the best line, and he'll pass him right back. And right here, he's still hanging pretty close, and Bradshaw really hasn't been able to make up that much ground on these guys.
Right now, Jeff Emig will try and seek out Jeremy McGrath, but Jeremy's quite a ways out in front of him. He's put a little bit of a distance on Kyle Lewis at this point. Now you'll see Jeremy. We start the stopwatch at that point, so let's wait and see just how far behind Jeff Emig is. 5, 6, 7. Do I hear 10? Whoa, this is some kind of lead, isn't it?
That's a week.
Oh.
That's plenty of time. I don't think,
right about
Emig
there.
was quite a bit faster than Jeremy in the first moto, but Jeremy seems determined to go ahead and collect that second moto win and the overall, and I think it'd be tough for Emig to recover from that crash and ride as good as he did in the first moto, and that's too much of a distance to make up.
Hey, look at this. Damon Bradshaw catching Kyle Lewis. This is for the third spot. You talked about seeing Damon, talked about him riding at Lake Sugar Tree. I remember that was the first time I saw him. I guess it was his rookie year down there. And I was quite impressed then. What was he? He was like 16, 17 years old, something like that?
Barely old enough to be pro.
Yeah, just barely.
Yeah. He's just got a lot of finesse, a lot of throttle control, a lot of balance. You see right through that corner, he never even sat down. He stayed,
man.
That set up that pass. He just carried a lot more momentum around that corner before that and controlled the best line. And right here, wow, they get close. Damon looking over his shoulder going, sorry about that. I didn't think you were that close to me, because he's just taking the line he wants. And Kyle Lewis is Same thing he did to Emig. Once Emig got around, he was right there to make to repass him, and he almost did the same thing to Damon.
But right now, Damon has got around Kyle, and Kyle settling into that 4th spot. Damon in 3rd, one of his best moto rides so far this year that we've seen him. We keep talking about how he's going to win a moto before the year's out, but man, he's fast running out of time.
Yeah, well, speaking of fast, take a look at this guy. He's going to have to come around him, and I've seen Damon catch these guys. At the Budds Creek race, he was pretty well off the pace, and he caught the front runners, which consisted of Henry and LaRocco and Jeremy, of course. Greg Albertine, I think, was in there. He caught those guys, but he didn't have the fitness once he got there to do anything about it. And so he has the confidence. He knows he can go fast, but he's going to have to get in better shape so he can do it all, the whole moto.
Well, right now, Jeremy McGrath has his way as he is atop the leaderboard as you take a look at our Honda Field Summary. Back with more after this. Welcome back to Washougal, and whatever adjustments McGrath and Skip Norfolk made on that bike seem to have worked, David.
Well, it seems to. I know that makes a big difference. Not so much on a track like this, and I know Jeremy's versatile enough. He could probably race like a shopping cart and still go fast.
Well, he's certainly going very fast right now. Whatever changes they made, the setup, they've hit it here in Moto number 2. And for more on shocks, setups, all that stuff, let's check in with Art.
With us in one of the Suzuki trucks is Tom Kojima. He's the suspension man for Suzuki, and Roger DeCoster. Come on in the truck. Let's take a look at what a critical point that is redone every single week by Tom back at the shop before each race. And we're talking about, this is the rear suspension right now, the rear shock.
These are the inside, the internals of a shock. And this piston and these washers are all assembled on this. One set of washers goes on this side of the piston, the other set comes on the other side of the piston. And the goal is to travel through these orifices and bend these washers in order to be able to go in or out. Now, depending on the track we go to, we want more damping or less damping, and that we adjust with the number of washers and the diameter of the washer.
You're telling me that a washer this thin can make a significant difference on the feel of the shock?
If you change the thickness by 1/10 of a millimeter, the rider will be able to feel it.
How's the bike working?
Well, the whole bike's working really well, except for I think the rear shock could be a little softer for going into the corners. It seems to kick a little, so.
All right, Damon's complaining about it kicking going into the corners. So we have 2 adjustments, a high speed and a low speed. So I'm gonna back this off 2 clicks, which will keep it a little bit softer going into the corners. Also, if we have to slow down the rebound of the shock, I have an adjustment down here.
So you're really controlling the amount of oil and the speed that the oil goes through back and forth.
Right. And on a track like Washougal, which is a faster track, usually you want a little bit less damping than on a sand track like Southwick, for example, where there's not so much speed, but more deeper bumps.
This track's pretty fast, and there's not that many places. There's maybe one place that's got a real hard landing. So here I like the bike a little softer, you know, basically front and rear, so I can feel the ground pretty good.
Less damping, they want the soft shocks to move freer for today's round. Most of the work, of course, done before arriving at the track. Gentlemen?
Thank you, Art. You know, David, in NASCAR, which I cover a lot, they've got shock dynos on their trucks, and they go through and check every shock and all the adjustments before they put them on. Maybe we'll see that next year.
Oh, I think some of the teams are already looking into that. If they don't have it already, I know Honda was, and they, of course, use shock dynos all during the week. It's pretty sophisticated.
Well, a little further back in the pack, Larry Brooks making his return. Remember, he ran in the top 5, Moto number 1, but he faded back to a 12th place finish. Let's check in with Art.
Misfortune for Emig, slipping out on the backside, Skip. Now it's important for Jeremy to keep his pace.
Yeah, you know, we have to take advantage of that misfortune on Emig's part, but it was fixing to be a great race. Those 2 guys were hammering on it hard from the beginning. I don't know if that little shower we had might have made things a little slick and might have lost the front end or something, but we're going to try to take advantage of it.
And so far, Jeremy McGrath is doing just that. As we showed you that lead while ago with the stopwatch, it was somewhere around 17 to 18 seconds. McGrath continuing to hold the point here in Moto number 2 at Washougal. Check out the top 10 on our Honda Field Summary and pick out your favorite rider. We'll be back at Washougal right after this. Back at Washougal Motocross Park, Washougal, Washington. Art Ekman, David Bailey, and John Kernan watching Jeremy McGrath. The final lap as he gets by to take the white flag. And the way things are stacked up right now, if Jeremy can hang on and win this moto, he'll take the overall. That means 5 overall victories this year out of 10 events.
Pretty dominant. I don't know what it's going to... I thought this kid was an indoor rider and was blossoming into an outdoor rider. He blossomed completely this season, and I really think it comes back to just being able to ride with more confidence, and confidence in the fact that he knows he's in shape. Over the off-season, he got in shape. That was the thing that everyone kind of was on his case about last year. He seemed to he was a good run up front. He had plenty of speed last year, but even at this race here, he was not even that rough, and he still faded. So this year, he's got the winning package.
Got it all right now. Look at that as he's showing off here on the final lap to the fans, laying that bike over. Oh.
You should, you should see what these guys do during the week. When they're out play riding and climbing cliffs and stuff you just ride right by, thinking, well, that's nowhere to ride. These guys jump up that stuff and do 180s, and that's where the knack-knacks get discovered and feed off and all that stuff. It's pretty impressive what these guys are able to do in a race situation, but it's nothing compared to what they do during the week.
It's nothing compared to what they do to have fun, huh?
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, especially if you get these guys together. Sometimes they go out to the sand dunes or something and use paddle tires. They're jumping 140 feet. And,
oh, man.
When you do a knack-knack for 140 feet, that's one heck of a knack-knack.
That's a knack-knack, knack-knack-knack. Knack-knack. That's right. Oh, look at that. There's the feet off.
He's having a good time. The crowd's into it. And, it's kind of a boring moto, really. It's unfortunate that Emig went down. I think that was shaping up to be a great battle. Emig seemed to have more speed today, but doesn't matter. And what matters is Jeremy, if he can keep it upright for the next couple of corners. Even if he doesn't, he's probably got time to pick it up and still win the moto. He's going to get the overall and the last lap.
So what's he going to do to top that one move with the with both feet off the pegs?
I think maybe get a hand off the handlebar too.
You think?
By that time, I think Wes McCoy of Team Honda would say, okay, that's all. There might be in the contract eventually to knock that stuff off, especially if anyone gets hurt.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, here we're having a good time watching it, but one little wrong move on the landing or the takeoff.
Yeah, it's all part of it, though. You got to have fun and you got to be relaxed. And
look at that. Here's the little wheelie come across the checkered flag. Jeremy McGrath wins moto number 2. Now let's look back to Jeff Emig. Remember, he dumped the bike, but he has come back to get around Kyle Lewis and is now in the second place, and he'll cross the line in second. So he goes 1-2. McGrath goes 2-1, and it's a tie, but the tiebreaker, of course, goes to Jeremy McGrath on the overall. Look at Damon Bradshaw with a third-place finish, one of his best since his comeback attempt. And as you take a look at the rest of the top 10, Art Ekman has caught up with our winner.
Jeremy, just a stroll in the park this time around.
Yeah, I wanted to get out there and get the whole shot and try and stay in front of Jeff for a few laps. I guess maybe he bobbled or something like that, but I'll take it. I mean, he's riding good, and we made some changes to the bike, and my Honda was working really good the second moto, and there's no reason I shouldn't have won that race.
Well, Skip not only worked hard on your bike, but he also put that pit board out on the last lap saying, "You love Binghamton."
Yeah.
A mindset on a track that, you didn't like it too well last year.
Well, last year I had some bad laps on it, but I mean, this year at the tracks that I didn't do so good last year, I've been winning on. So I'm looking forward to Binghamton. We only got 4 motos left, and it's coming down to it.
Check out your overall results. Of course, told you McGrath with the overall victory over Emig. But Kyle Lewis, look at that great run for him, finishing 3rd overall. James Dobb was 4th. Anthony Alvarado, DeHoop, Lawrence, Bradshaw, Kudrowski round out the top 10.
Well, Damon, congratulations on your first top 3 performance. I know in a comeback effort like this, it's always good to break that top 3.
Yeah, it is. It's been it's been good to do this moto. First moto was bad for me. I didn't ride really good, and unfortunately I've been getting good starts and going down. This time I didn't get a so good start and rode good. So hopefully this will be the upswing of things. It's been tough.
Especially after a bad break in that first moto. You had a boulder that ran into Kudrowski and then Kudrowski in front of you.
Yeah, it's just, it's one of those things that happens in racing. It seemed like it's been happening to me a lot the last couple of weeks, but hopefully those things are behind me and I can start putting in some good solid finishes.
And a good, interesting 4 motos left.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. It's been a it's been a good training program, I guess, for me to get in here these last couple races. And, you know, I'm getting stronger as they go, and hopefully the first of next year I'll be 100% strong.
Well, I can't wait to see that. Look at the points. It's back to a 33-point lead for McGrath over Emig in the battle for the championship after 10 of 12 rounds.
It's been a good year for Emig on his first ride on 250, but in terms of trying to catch Jeremy and win his first title, he's had about that kind of luck.
Well, there's the podium. The guys out spraying the champagne over everybody. We hope you've enjoyed today's run here at Washougal. We will see you next time from Binghamton, New York. For Art Ekman and David Bailey, I'm John Kernan saying so long, everybody.